Okay, folks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My clock says 10:30, so I would like to call this virtual meeting to order. Thank you very much for joining us today, our panelists and those that are logging on to our special session. My name is Brian Dean. I am the Executive Director of the Burlington Downtown Business Association, and I will be your moderator for this 1-hour special business support forum focusing on our small business community. My co-moderator is Judy Worsley. She is the Executive Director of the Aldershot Village BIA, and combined, our two organizations represent well over 700 small business entrepreneurs in the city of Burlington that are clustered in two BIAs. There are many, many, many more small businesses, of course, in the city of Burlington. We are both part of a larger collective known as Team Burlington, which also includes membership from Tourism Burlington, the Burlington Chamber of Commerce, and Burlington Economic Development. Today is the third of 3 scheduled virtual seminars, support forums that have been hosted by Team Burlington in the last month, and they have been extremely well received. With our quest to be the voice, the unified voice of business in the city of Burlington, our team members have been working daily to better understand and to translate the needs of our small business community, businesses large and small. And this will continue through and beyond the health and economic crises that are presented by COVID-19. We have, among other things, successfully created a team platform on the Burlington Chamber of Commerce website that provides up-to-date, real-time details of economic relief measures from all levels of government and related resources for our business community in Burlington. Today, our focus is squarely on the small business community and their unique needs here in Burlington. You may know that nationwide, over 95% of all Canadian businesses are categorized as small or medium businesses with less than 500 employees. They are the economic engine of our country. And even during a time of economic boom, I think we can all agree that our small businesses always work at the slimmest of margins. COVID-19 is taking an ever more devastating economic toll, especially on our small business community across this province. Through employees, and there are obviously closures, reduced hours, and layoffs, and we are all trying to navigate the unknown right now. So you may know that this past week, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, who frequently polls the small business community across this nation, indicated the results of their latest polls that have told us that approximately 18 to 20% of small businesses nationwide are fully open, and upwards of 35% of their members are fearing permanent closure in the current environment. So today's 1-hour Zoom session will be designed to learn about the real-time impacts on our small business ecosystem. We will share what we are hearing, our prospects for the future as we aim towards a period of recovery. We hope to provide insights, resources, and advice during this extremely difficult time. If you are joining us and viewing today's seminar today, thank you very much for tuning in and also for submitting your questions ahead of time. That allowed us to sort out the most frequently asked questions for our panelists today. And I'd now like to introduce to you the panelists that have joined us. Kelvin Galbraith is the City of Burlington Councillor for Ward 1 and represents that seat at Regional Council. He is also a small business owner in the Aldershot community and a council liaison to the Aldershot Village BIA. Councillor Kearns joins us. She is the representative of Ward 2 on Burlington City Council and also at Halton Regional Council. And she is a council liaison to my organization, the Board of Directors for the Burlington Downtown Business Association. Our third panelist is Jenna Puletto. Jenna is the Special Business Areas Coordinator for the City of Burlington and a liaison to both of the business improvement areas. I'm also pleased to announce we're joined by Craig Kowalchuk. Craig is the owner and operator of Emma's Back Porch and the Water Street Cooker, and also the president of the chapter, the local chapter, the Burlington Restaurant Association. Asif Aziz joins us. He is the manager of business markets for Halton region with RBC. And we have two representatives from Halton Regional Services, Stephanie Mazzari, who is the manager of entrepreneurship services with Halton region. And rounding out our panelists today is Prince Khan, small business consultant, also with Halton region. I'm going to open the floor now and ask for some individual introductions of you, briefly and concisely, but also by way of introduction, I'm going to ask our panelists to offer their comment and their observations on the health of our small business community in Burlington from their unique perspective. And we will start with Councillor Galbraith.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for that introduction already. As you've said, I am a councillor here in Burlington, but first and foremost, I am a small business owner and entrepreneur. That's what I have been my entire life. I've had a business in Aldershot called The Fitness Firm for 22 years, and we were forced to close our doors on March the 17th and lay off 15 employees and issue ROEs, something we've obviously never had to experience before. So these are new waters for all of us in business, at least in my history, and trying to navigate through all the different levels of government and assistance that's out there is very difficult for all of us. I'm getting a lot of questions from the community, from other businesses, and I'm doing all I can to help them and steer them in the right direction. So I really commend the work that Team Burlington has done and all you guys are doing, and look forward to being a part of this and helping any small business I can. So thank you for including me.
And thank you for joining us, Kelvin. Councillor Kearns.
Thank you, Ryan, for the introduction as well, and I'm glad to join this panel. I am a user, supporter, and advocate for our small businesses, especially in the downtown area, which represents the Burlington Downtown Business Association, but also all across our great city of Burlington. I recognize how important it is to have these types of businesses that are run by our neighbors, our friends, and how each and every purchase from these types of organizations and businesses directly put food on the table of our local families. So the health of our city is very much intertwined with these businesses and the advocacy that we'll be speaking about today. And I'm here to support in every which way possible. I've offered a direct line of communication into my office, and I've fully stood behind, advocated, and supported the work that Team Burlington is. This is truly one of those times where we have seen this from every level of government, that the best thing we can be doing right now to support these businesses is to step aside and let the experts really take the reins in order to advocate to get what exactly it is that each of these businesses need to be successful and to move into the recovery period of this effect of COVID-19.
I couldn't agree more, and thank you, Lisa. Jenna, you and I work very closely together, but I'm not sure everyone is familiar with your portfolio.
Thank you, Brian. So as Brian mentioned, I'm the Special Business Area Coordinator for the City of Burlington. So I work with small businesses, not just in the BIAs, but outside of both of the BIAs as well. I work to help them navigate some of the issues or concerns, or even just general questions that they have with how to do business at the City of Burlington. A lot of questions about permitting and licensing. So I'm happy to help and reach out to please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions during this time. I have heard from a couple of business owners during this period, helping them navigate some of the challenges they've been experiencing, but also some of them are looking to the future to sort of think about how they can change their business model or what their next steps will be. So I've been happy to help a few businesses with that, and I'd be happy to work with anyone as well if they have any questions or inquiries for how they can move forward in the future.
Thank you, Jenna. And Craig, you are a veteran business owner in the downtown core and offer a unique perspective. Or what can you offer by way of introductions this morning?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Team Burlington, for taking the leadership in this and providing a really one-stop shop on information. I've listened to 2 of the previous forums, and it's helped give clarity to what each level of government's able to do. Our perspective, I represent, well, I've owned and operated Emma's Back Porch and Water Street Cooker in the famous Estamina building since 1992. We are 28 years strong. This was going to be our 29th summer, and we were ready to fly out of the gate. We were ready to take on the spring and summer and fall. I also represent 25 active members of the Burlington Restaurant Association. Most of the members are independent small business restaurant operators, very actively involved in their businesses and very actively involved in the community. And we started it back in 2010 to create collaborative relationships with the city, with the enforcement of police, fire, health, to create an advocacy and education platform for our small business partners, because certainly we sometimes get very caught up in the day-to-day operations that sometimes you need a resource or a collective group to share minds and better ideas so that we can all be strong in our industry. We work on very small margins, and that seems to be the biggest challenge. We're in this business because we love it. We love the engagement with people. We love the engagement with our teams, our staff. Our staffs are like family. And man, that day when we laid off 82 people, it was a hard one. But the great thing is you know, I'm going to speak to some of the funds and types of assistance that small business is receiving. And the great thing is, I think Lisa mentioned it, is there's a lot of great resourceful people at all levels of government and all parts of our community. And I think that's going to be the strength to see us through.
Craig, thank you. I, for one, am a very proud member of the Restaurant Association, and I think many of us here have been patrons at Emma's Back Porch as well. I'd like to turn to our friends at the Halton region. Stephanie Mazzari is online. Stephanie, your title is Manager Entrepreneur Services with Halton Region. Can you tell us a little bit about that portfolio?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having Halton Region here at this forum. So I am the manager of the Halton Region Small Business Center, and we work with entrepreneurs and small business owners across the region, so in all 4 municipalities. We provide services and resources and programs to those looking to start or grow their business, and that includes things like seminars, grant training, mentoring programs, and our one-on-one consultations. Obviously with COVID-19, our center doors are closed, but we are still absolutely active and delivering our services virtually. So, you know, we do encourage small businesses who are struggling right now, or maybe they're taking this time to explore, you know, starting a business, to, we want them to get in touch with us. So virtually, of course, through phone, email, they can come in, they can call us, and if they have any questions, or book a one-on-one consultation, you know, through phone or video conferencing. We are also still holding our boot camp seminars virtually, so we encourage you to visit us online. But really the message is we have a great team. I'm joined by my colleague, Prince Khan, one of our business consultants, to really, you know, work with businesses who are struggling right now, where he needs some answers to questions, and we'll work with you and navigate as you go through this challenging time.
Prince, welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. Prince Khan here. I've been advising small businesses for over 5 years now. I used to work for a small business as well before I started here. So I do understand the struggles that you guys go through on a daily basis. And I actually did own a business for about 1.5 years. So I've kind of been all over in respect to entrepreneurship. So I'm going to leave it really short and simple. I'm really here to help you out and give you advice on how to manage your cash flow, how to really get through these tough times, and really just survive this whole hurdle over the next couple of months.
Thank you, Prince, and welcome to the panel. And rounding out our panel today is Asif. Aziz, your title is Manager Business Markets for Halton Region with RBC. Good morning.
Thank you, Brian, for having me today as part of your virtual business support forum. I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I would also like to thank Carla for inviting us to participate. To say the world has changed in a very short period of time would be an understatement. People everywhere continue to adjust to a new reality. As business owners, you're facing very unique circumstances. Through this pandemic, some businesses continue to operate per usual, some are pivoting, some are thriving. But as you guys know, there are many others who are facing a very stressful and uncertain road ahead. If this applies to your business, I want you to know that we see you, we hear you, and we are committed to understanding your individual needs to give you the best advice for your situation. And most importantly, I thank each of you for the incredibly vital role you play in supporting the Canadian economy and providing jobs to our friends, family, and neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Asif. So to those of you that are tuning in and listening, our registrants today, again, thank you very much for not only donating your time, and we hope you find significant value from this today, but also for giving us your questions. Each one of you submitted a litany of really, really good questions. We have sorted through them. We have bundled them and are going to address them to the right groups of our panelists today. And we will start off, I will turn the lectern over to my co-moderator, Judy Worsley.
Thank you. Good day, everybody. This first set of questions is directed towards Councillors Kearns and Galbraith. And I'm just wondering if you could specify ways the City of Burlington is supporting small business.
You want me to start on that, Lisa?
Yes, please.
Okay, so thank you for the question, Judy. So the City of Burlington, first and foremost, has a property tax deferral program. They have deferred the April 21st property tax payment to June the 30th to help address some cash flow concerns. Now, this can apply to obviously property owners, but the hope is that landlords will also have this deferral and can pass that on to tenants. Tenants often don't see the property tax bill, but it is buried in rent or TMI. So the hope is that those payments can be deferred down the line until we can reopen for business. So that is one initiative that the city has started. Secondly, the municipality, in terms of a government, has limited powers in providing extra relief beyond that. It's typically coming from the upper levels of government, from the provincial and federal governments. The city is playing an integral role with Team Burlington in advocating for better subsidies, better handouts, and better support from those upper levels of government. I would say first and foremost, that is what the city is assisting in, and that is helping small businesses. Lisa, do you want to add anything to that?
I think it's very important that at this time we recognize how much we are leaning into our excellent representation at both the provincial and federal government here in Burlington. We're very fortunate to have representatives who truly understand the value that small businesses bring to our city and to our communities, and we know that they have advocated on our behalf because we've recently seen an increase in the draw amount for the emergency relief benefit from the federal government that is now allowing some business owners or proprietors to earn $1,000 in income and then still be able to collect that $2,000 a month from the federal government. So we can say at this point that our community voices have been carried up through the government, different levels, through the advocacy that's happening right now, and we are starting to see some policy reconfiguration to really hone in on delivering that relief that we require.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was instructive. We're very fortunate to have a couple panelists that work directly with our small business community in the financial world or with direct supports. I think we can all appreciate personal and business finances are absolutely top of mind. So I'd like to call upon Asif and Prince, perhaps Stephanie, if you wish to chime in. There were a series of questions about really specific advice that you can offer from your desk to small business owners in terms of how to reduce their costs and manage their limited dollars during this unprecedented time of crisis. So perhaps we'll start with you, Prince, and then I will speak with Azif as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. So there's obviously two ways to run a business. One is to increase your sales when there's a lot of demand. The other is reducing your costs to maintain, your cash flow. Today, I'll be specifically talking about ways to maintain your cash flow over the next couple of months and things you may not be aware of and you may want to take advantage of in these detrimental times. So the first thing I would say is any mortgages, credit cards, installment loans, and auto loans, a lot of the banks are offering you deferrals for up to 6 months for a lot of these expenses. So if you're interested in just delaying your payments and just maintaining that cash in your bank account for any upcoming expenses, you're more than welcome to sort of, call your bank, tell them about your situation, and they're more than willing to work with you to help you defer those payments. And this actually won't even affect your credit score as well. So you definitely want to take advantage of it, especially if you are in a cash crunch. Second thing is you can get either line of credit or a loan. So if you want to get a loan for your business, even better, because any interest expense you pay on that, you can actually write off on your taxes at the end of the year. And interest rates are at an all-time low right now. So you're looking at prime, which is 0.25 is what the Bank of Canada released just last month, and anything additional, whatever the bank is charging on top of that. But it's very nominal compared to what it was being charged over a month ago. So getting a loan or a line of credit will help you maintain, a positive cash flow and any unexpected expenses that come up. A couple of other things. Some of the banks are also offering you reduced payments for your credit card. So for example, if you have a credit card with 19% interest or 20% interest, you can actually call your bank and talk to them, and they may actually reduce it up to 50%, maybe even more, and even talk about ways to kind of work out your payments more accordingly. So it's your best bet to kind of speak to somebody at a banking or facility. And they've also allowed you through limit increases. So, any money that, they give you an extra $500 for overdraft, for example, they're able to give you a little bit more leniency there and give you some more cash to kind of help you. The other few things I would mention are obviously, Councillor Kelvin mentioned the deferring your property taxes. That's a great way to maintain your cash flow. Hiring students and interns. So if you are still sort of in the midst of running your business and still want to kind of grow, there's programs through Sheridan College and other colleges and universities out there where you can actually hire students and go through their co-op programs, which will reduce your costs immensely. Or some of these programs are even free or at no cost to you. So if you want more information on that, we do have some connections here at the Halton region, so you're more than welcome to talk to us. Last 3 or 4 things that I have to say. If you're not aware, you can actually reduce your auto insurance premiums. So this is a fixed cost, obviously, that goes on monthly, and because you are not driving as much as you used to, now you can actually call up your auto insurance provider, and depending on your situation and how much you're driving your vehicle, they may actually reduce it up to 100%. So if you didn't know about that option, feel free to give them a call and see where you can get those reductions made. Also, reduce your entertainment expenses. We have a tendency to enjoy a lot of TV. I have really fast internet. What I'd encourage you to do is, if you are obviously in the cash crunch, look at alternatives or ways to kind of reduce your costs there as well, and focus really on the necessities in life and what you really need to get through. Cell phone bills as well. Some companies are offering you payment deferrals or an option to work with them to stagger out the payments more effectively, so it's not a burden on you. So if you do have a high cell phone bill, talk to your provider, see what they're able to give you, and chances are you'll be able to get something great out of their services. And last but not least, invest where possible. I mean, you could invest in stocks right now. They're at an all-time low, but at the end of the day, it's a risk. But you can also look to invest in other short-term investments over the next 3 to 6 months, just to earn some money on any cash that you have sitting around. So it's not just sitting in your bank account and you're actually earning money on top of it. So these are some alternatives that you can look at in terms of cash flow management. And if you have any other specific questions, you can reach out to me after this webinar.
Thank you, Prince. I actually learned quite a bit. I didn't know. I was sort of furiously writing as you were speaking, but I'd also like to work with you offline to have these bullet points pulled together for the Chamber platform.
For sure.
Asif, welcome this morning. We appreciate your expertise and insight as well.
Thanks, Brian. Well, first and foremost, I would say when it comes to cost cutting, and if you haven't embraced digital option for your business yet, you must consider it right away. If COVID-19 has taught us anything, it's the importance of digital. Please make sure you're ready to adopt. We're still meeting with clients, but like everyone else, virtually. We currently have almost 85% of our workforce working remotely or from home. And, most importantly, we mobilized for our clients, and we knew our clients needed more than ever this thing for us to be able to reach out to them proactively. So one of the ways to make your business model more cost efficient is to leverage technology. And we have all seen that in recent times where services are being delivered online. Like I'll give the example of my 8-year-old daughter who used to go to an evening school, and they started doing those classes online. And I saw some of these, those classes, and I'm extremely happy with the content and how it's delivered. There's so many other businesses, restaurants are reinventing themselves for online delivery. People are developing apps for customers to interact and place their orders. So those are some of the examples that we have seen. I mean, businesses are reinventing themselves, leveraging the technology that reduces your overhead. So opting for online channel can positively impact your cost structure for sure. The other challenge is about, speaking of cash flow. So we've been talking, like my team has been talking to the clients, and I've been on some of the calls as well. We do follow-up calls to our clients as well. When we talk to most of the customers, one of the first thing they ask is, what's right for me? And also, many are telling us that their biggest challenge is understanding and managing their cash flow in these testing times. So having realized the importance and the impact of that on the cash flow of most of the businesses, we continue to carefully assess the needs of every client to find the right financial relief for them. So today, my friend, co-panelist Prince spoke about some of the relief, some of the initiatives that the banks have taken. I'll just quickly walk you through again. So we introduced at RBC the RBC Client Relief Program. It helps clients impacted by COVID-19. So far, I think we have deferred over 300,000 payments for mortgages, credit cards, and loans. For our business clients, we have introduced customized advice and solutions targeted to their cash flow needs, more specifically deferring the term loan payments, principal payments for up to 6 months, temporary increase to their operating line overdrafts, waiving credit card minimum payment for up to 6 months, and waiving the fee for all new cash management enrollment. So some of the things that the first phase of initiatives that we have taken that can positively impact the cash flow of especially for commercial and business clients. Let me also share with you some of the programs offered by the government. These programs are now household names, and I think some of the other panelists are going to talk in more detail about these programs. I'll just quickly mention some of those. First one is a Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy up to 75%. We have the Canada Emergency Business Account, CEBA, which provides up to $40,000 interest-free loan to eligible businesses. And so far, I think we have processed almost 50,000 of those applications since it was launched last week. So 50,000 businesses so far, just RBC, at RBC have actually money available to them, these facilities. The other things will be, in addition to these, banks are working with EDC and BDC to have certain other facilities in place. The details of those are being worked out at this point, but they will be available pretty soon. So, but it's important to note at this point that financial institutions will be implementing these programs in collaboration and guidance with the government authorities. So we'll have probably not much of a say into the eligibility criteria and so on, but it'll be delivered through our platforms. And this is some of the, these are some of the options that can really, help your cash flow in the short term and long term. So those are some of the things that I believe in order, business owners should consider when looking at, ways how to improve their cash flow and to meet some of these challenges that they're facing at this point. Right.
Gentlemen, thank you both. I think you know that both of your industries will be critical to expediting recovery for our small businesses, and thank you for your insights. I'll pass it over to my co-moderator.
This question is specifically for Craig, and we all know that the local hospitality sector has been severely hit, and there's close to 500,000 province-wide that have lost their jobs. And I'm just wondering from your perspective, how some of the emergency measures put forth by the various levels of governments have assisted your industry to date.
Thank you, Judy, for the question. And thank you, Asif and Prince, for your thoughts in regards to cash flow, because that is probably one of the most challenging items that we're facing day to day, is sorting through that cash flow. So all information to help manage that and see through that. And some of these government funds have been very helpful to do that for some and not necessarily for others. So I'd like to say that the way the government got the banks very liquid, and by moving on EI and getting money into our employees' hands right off the top, was really great, because there's a lot of these people that rely on these wages, live paycheck to paycheck, some of them, and to help them see their way through and be able to support their rent and get meals and take care of themselves. I think that portion of getting the EI and then following it up subsequently with the CURB money, the Canadian Emergency Relief Fund, which is the $2,000 per month. So those two things are helping everyone from myself as a self-employed owner-operator of a restaurant through to the whole entire management team, all the way down to every single employee. And one of the keys that we did was help facilitate submitting all their ROEs, as all did my peers, and made sure that we looked after our staff, because they are the frontline people in our business, and not to, and very much part of the lifeblood of our businesses. The 75% wage subsidy, which originally started with a 10% threshold and then went to a 30% threshold, or back and forth in the reduction of business. This was an important lever for those that stayed in the takeout delivery platform, because what that did was help keep employees employed, and it's a short-term fix, because the last reporting period for that is June 6th. So we're not sure whether we're going to see extensions of those programs, because as we were the first businesses to be asked to close to help protect the communities, we're likely to be the last businesses to open in social distancing to protect the communities. So the last reporting period of June 6th, we're thinking that this is good for the people that are actively still in those takeout delivery platforms, but what happens when we start to reopen? So we're looking for more help there. The CEBA, the Canadian Emergency, again, and I'm not remembering all the acronyms, the $40,000 interest-free loan. And if repaid by the end of 2021 or 2022, you get $10,000 of that unforgivable. Currently, that funding, it has a cap out of $1 million. So it's $50,000 payroll to $1 million payroll. And that's fantastic. So some of our members and some of our restaurant communities are being able to take advantage of that. It's easy to apply to, and it's done through your financial institution, and it's been tremendous. But there's other of us that are smaller one-person operations that don't have that $50,000 payroll, and there's some of us that have grown our businesses in excess of the $1 million payroll and missed out on the opportunity for funding there. So one thought to that is we increase the cap to maybe open the funding to more operators. Another thought to that would be increase the fund on a tier basis on the size of your business, and perhaps maybe some of that money, if we, for example, moved it to an $80,000 loan to help through the cash flow crunch, because in hospitality, many of us have just come out of January and February, which are challenging months. We lost half of March, and sort of the kickoff of spring and summer is St. Patrick's Day, and we were closed for that in respect to the safety of our community. So these are some of the sacrifices we have done. These are some of the funding and opportunities are there. And to answer the question, Judy, some are working and some are not. It depends on your business. The provincial governments has deferred EHT payments. Again, that works for some depending on whether you've achieved the payroll threshold or not. For example, our business is, at this point in the year, has not achieved its exceeded the payroll threshold, so we're not responsible for any monies there. So there is a little window of savings there. And the WSIB, the deferral is, again, as Kelvin said earlier, is helping us manage the short-term cash flow, but in some respects, it's just kicking it down the road. The thoughtfulness on no penalties and no interest, that's important as well, because I don't know how many more punches in the stomach that we can take. Overall, I think the strength is really being resourceful in maintaining communication with your landlords, and because they, for the most part, are a big expenditure and a big part of your relationship and a big part of your business. And staying in touch with your key employees and your employees and making sure that they're safe and healthy, because when we do get going again, they're going to be an important part of our operations.
Greg, could I just ask a really quick supplemental question just to inform all of us? Because your industry was one of the the first to close down. It was easy for us to point point the community towards the value of delivery and takeout service as an important measure to put money back in the pockets of restaurateurs. Generally speaking, what percentage of monthly revenue comes from takeouts and deliveries?
All business models are different. Some are in that space, and they do a tremendous job. Some will pay the expensive fees of Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats and take the top end money and know that their margins again are going to get further cut. For example, our business, we did attempt to do takeaway, but we're not really in that space. Those that are having some success with it, some of our peers, it's still maybe 10% of there's 10% contribution to their revenue streams. So it's really still challenging, but it is helping with some cash flow. But they've stripped it right out to the owner operator, maybe 1 or 2 cooks, and maybe 1 or 2 employees, or family. Like it all fits in different things.
That's good knowledge. Thank you. I didn't know how to characterize that.
Thanks, Greg.
And moving on, I'd like to speak with Jenna Puletto, our Special Business Areas Coordinator for the city. we had a fair number of questions come from the registrants that wanted to seek some clarification on the city's response to some key operational issues. And one, rather pointed question is this: will the city reduce enforcement on parking and signage bylaws, or are there some other modifications to zoning permits that the city will enact to help our business community to adapt? What can you tell us on that front?
Sure, thanks, Brian. So I know that there is a lot of question about what's happening with respect to enforcement activities at the city. Generally, what I will say is that our bylaws remain in force and effect. However, there's definitely some exceptions to that, and that's around relaxed and suspended enforcement activities. Specific, they tend to be related to the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, and those are being mandated by the government. I'll note a few changes and exceptions today. Notably from the zoning bylaw perspective, the only real change, really the zoning bylaw remains in effect, and all of the regulations, with the exception of enforcement around RVs, and those RVs are being parked on residential properties, and that's really to assist with people who are self-isolating or who are caring for somebody as a result of COVID-19. So all other aspects of the zoning bylaw really are still in force and effect. What I can also comment on is for anyone who does have a zoning clearance application, and at the moment there is a bit of a backlog as a result of the closure of City Hall and with COVID-19. That said, they're working really quickly to try and get an online platform to be able to review some of these applications digitally. So there will be announcements coming that will help to bring relief to some people who are waiting on their permit applications. It's something that's happening kind of in rapid speed right now. I'm just trying to work through some of the testing to make sure that it'll work. Another thing, I think a really important one is with respect to business licensing. So there might be some businesses who find themselves in a position where their licenses are overdue. And I want to note that any overdue business licenses are not going to be canceled. And if you find yourself in that situation, you can contact me and I'll help you connect with the right people. Another thing, as you know, non-essential businesses are required to restrict public access as much as possible. And so we've had a few questions about signage to help small businesses especially figure out how they can communicate to their customers how that they are still open and how their new business is working. So I do want to just reiterate that A-frame signs, for the most part, they are permitted. There's a couple exceptions if you go over a certain size limit, and I'd be happy to walk people through those. But those permits are not required for that, and you can use those to assist with bringing customers to your business. All of our sign applications have been put online, so if you do have a sign need that is beyond sort of an A-frame or sandwich sign, I'd be happy to walk you through that, and everything is online for that as well. Another thing I'd like to note, so in terms of all of our applications from a planning perspective, they're also in the process of being digitally put up online, and to help facilitate some of those processes. It's a bit of a learning curve, and there's a lot of things that need to get worked out to do that, but we are working on that. So if you do have an application or something specific that you need to talk to us about, please feel free to contact me and I'll put you in touch with the right person if I don't have the answer for you. Some businesses, as I mentioned, they've been reaching out to talk about the future. So we're also really happy to work with you on that. If you have future plans for new signage or anything like that, we're very happy to help with that as well.
That's very helpful. Thank you. I think that answers the key question. So, hey, panelists, my clock says 11:13. There will be one final round out question that I'm going to ask each of you to chime in on. But since we have just a small window of opportunity and you've all been very patient in listening to each other's responses, I'll take a moment to just ask the panelists if you have a question of another panelist based on what you've heard. And if you do, kindly raise your hand.
I have a question for you, Asif, in regards to bank fees. Do you hear me?
Proceed.
Yeah, Asif. So my question is things like non-sufficient fund bangs, if you're hit over your credit line, annual fees on credit cards. I could the long list, if I looked at my bank statement of all these additional fees, could there be some consideration that some of these are waived because of they're happening because of this situation with the COVID-19?
Well, to some extent, at this point, the first thing that we have done is for the cash management new enrollments, those fees have been waived. So a lot of your day-to-day banking is covered through your cash management. And that's a big part of your fee that you pay on a monthly basis. So that fee for new enrollments have been waived. Also, there are, like, on a case-by-case basis, it all depends on what kind of fee we are looking at and what's this unique situation of the client. So that's where you need to work with the person that is your account manager or the person that you interact with at the bank, if you don't have a relationship manager, to reach out to that individual and explain your unique situation and why of course, I mean, it's a commercial organization too, right? So there has to be a case as well for that. And we have seen our advisors working closely with our clients to make sure that, we offer the best possible solution, and fees is included in that. So I would suggest, I would ask you to reach out to the person, the advisor that you work with to discuss that with them.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's great thoughts. In fact, it's kind of my own advice when I'm saying, let's talk to our landlords. We need to talk to the utilities. We need to talk to our vendors and suppliers, because we're all in this together. We need to come up with solutions made for each of our businesses, that's for sure. But I guess it's all in the communication. Thank you.
True.
Thank you both, gentlemen. So we're moving to the final comments right now, and I've learned an awful lot today. I really do thank you for your time and expertise. For those of you that are tuning in, please know that if you wish to get in touch with any one of our panelists, you can reach out to a member of Team Burlington. They've all offered their services post-forum. The concluding question I have for each of you, and perhaps we'll do this one at a time, is to ask, from your unique perspective, if you could identify one measure or one intervention that you would like to see enacted that will expedite the recovery for Burlington's small business community, what would that be? We'll start with you, Kelvin.
So one measure that would expedite the recovery. Well, I'd have to say it has to come from the upper levels of government. We need not just a wage subsidy for some of the businesses that are closed completely, which I know Craig's is, mine is, all the restaurants are. The wage subsidy doesn't really help us. We need some kind of cash flow injection to get us restarted again. I just heard on the news this morning that the CFIB is advocating for the provincial government to provide up to $5,000 per month in not attached to wages, just in some relief to small businesses. And that is news to my ears. That's something that could help Craig and I. That's the kind of cash we need to get started again, and even to get us to that start point again. We just need something to get us the day-to-day bills that still exist without wages, without revenue. How are we going to get to that point? So that would be my request to the government, and I'm really encouraged to see that there's other people advocating for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Good points. Councillor Kearns, your thoughts?
I'd have to agree with Councillor Galbraith. A focus for a laser beam path for funding to come straight from the upper level of governments directly to the small businesses is, in fact, probably the only way that we will be able to move into the recovery period here. And, to add some levity, we call that bucks in jeans. So we just need money in the pockets of our businesses so that they can take care of those liabilities that continue to pile up, so that those liabilities don't result in a collapse of our local business community. And when we look at what we can be doing and continuing to do to bring us to the other side, to move into these brighter days ahead, I do want to build on some of the commentary from Craig, and that is communication. And so we are having those frank and incredibly uncomfortable conversations around how hard this period really is. This is a rainy day that even the best businesses couldn't have planned to go on for this long for. So many of the emergency funding that our local businesses have held onto for this have now come to the point where they're starting to feel exhausted, and so we do need that cash injection. This is a story that will live or die by cash flow, and that at this moment in time is the name of the game. I will say with some optimism that it has allowed our business communities and our community as a whole to galvanize around our small businesses and deliver them an incredible amount of support and positivity. So it really is bringing out the best in our communities in a really dark time.
I have seen that as well, Councillor. Thank you. Jenna, your thoughts on a particular measure you'd like to see enacted to expedite the recovery for our small business community?
Yeah, similar to what I've just heard Councillor Kearns say, I have seen some really, really great things from some small businesses trying really hard to support one another. And I would love to see some sort of a program that worked to help, pair small businesses with one another, so that one that is considered essential and able to still operate would be able to perhaps sell or feature products from another business that may not be able to operate or wasn't able to adjust their business model in time to participate in some of these activities right now. So something like that I think would be a really neat way to help small businesses support one another and really help keep sort of the word of mouth and the business moving for some of these businesses that aren't able to have their doors open right now.
Excellent thoughts. Mr. Kowalchuk.
Well, I'd like to say that my peers that are still in the takeout delivery business, I think they're providing some sort of relief to that every night cooking your own meal. So the strength of continuing to support the takeout business of those who are doing them, I think that's really important. What do I think? I think certainly we've talked about some sort of financial aid that's forgivable. I think it's going to come from the feds through the province down to the municipality. Prince said something that has resonated with me for a long time. You sell more, spend less, make more money. And as Lisa said in regards to cash flow, cash is king, cash flow is king. And I think even if we've got these measures in sort of in a 3-month window, I think these need to be thought about in a 12-month, 18-month type window and support. I think it just can't go away once that happens. And how it's going to impact hospitality specifically is going to be when we get the startup and that social distancing, how our capacities are going to be limited and our revenues are going to be contributed. At some time, the magic formula doesn't work, especially on the margins that we work with. So.
Awesome point. And you're right, very much about long-term planning. Perhaps I'll bring Prince and Stephanie both online just for your concluding comments about some measures that you would like to see to help expedite our path to recovery.
Sure, thanks, Brian. So I think just from what building on what Jenna was saying, I think bringing businesses together, we're working, behind the scenes on some opportunities to help businesses that still want to virtually network. I think it's still really important for small businesses to be able to connect, and it's not happening in the usual face-to-face way, but I think there's still some great opportunities for businesses to come together and share expertise and kind of get through this together. So I will say that's something that we know our clients value, and we want to provide that as best as we can. And I think just kind of anecdotally what we're hearing from our clients, maybe Prince can kind of elaborate on how to maybe respond, is those businesses that are challenged with paying their rent. We haven't heard anything from the government yet on any relief programs. It's been hinted through the federal government that there might be something coming down the pipe, but obviously that's a huge expense. And some landlords have been able to accommodate, but it's a difficult conversation. and that's, you know, a huge part of businesses' expenses. So maybe I'll maybe pass it over to Prince. We've been providing some guidance and advice. You know, obviously there isn't a program like I mentioned, but maybe Prince can talk just a little bit about, you know, kind of what we're advising our clients in terms of conversations and kind of how to set those conversations with their landlords.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Obviously, COVID has really changed the landscape of small business. And I don't know exactly how it's going to fare after this whole pandemic is over, but I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go back to the same way it used to be. So in terms of rent relief, Stephanie's on point. A lot of our clients, not just one, but several clients have reached out to us saying that their rent is due and their landlord is not listening. For some clients, there's not much we can do. Unfortunately, it's the landlord's decision at the end of the day. But what they can also think of is an alternative payment system where the payments are now broken up over a series of months versus being paid on the date that it's due. And I know the federal government has been talking about rent relief for quite some time now, but I think it needs to come sooner than later because that's the number one overhead expense that a lot of businesses have and they're kind of stuck with. And if they're not generating any income, how are they going to survive paying their mortgages and all that 6 months later? So I think that's prime in terms of getting that done as soon as possible.
And I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think there will be some announcement coming through on rent relief. So that might be late breaking news. So we'll stay tuned for that.
We all have our fingers crossed for that. And, you know, I think, Prince, you've identified a number of conversations that you're having in real time and real concerns from small businesses. I believe they can log on to smallbusiness@halton.ca to look at the resources you have, but also speak with you one-on-one. And finally, Asif, you've been sitting in the sidelines there patiently. Thank you. You're obviously on the front line in many ways to provide real-time relief. What measure would you like to see enacted to move our small business community to recovery faster?
Well, we heard lots of good ideas, and you know, lots of it, like some of it is coming already. We just got the breaking news. One of the things, like in my opinion, that SEBA is a great program, but the eligibility criteria needs to be revisited to make it more inclusive for people like what Craig had just mentioned, that to include the under 50,000 and over $1 million payroll businesses as well, especially under under $50,000 for various reasons. So that is something that I think that if that can be revisited, that's going to help the current situation from getting worse, and that will ensure a speedy recovery as well in an indirect way. So that's what I can think of. And also to we just heard about talking to your landlord. I would say renegotiate all your contracts. To go reach out to your suppliers, renegotiate. Like Prince had some really good points about go line by line. I would say look at all the expenses on your income statement and see what are some of the things that you don't need anymore, or how you can renegotiate based on the current situation. So those are some of my thoughts on this that can help the sustainability of your business, as well as a quick recovery in an indirect way.
Aziz, thank you. And to each of you, we are at time. We are about 3 minutes, perhaps 2 minutes out from concluding. I'll also thank very much Judy Worsley, my co-moderator. As you know, we have over 40 registrants that have taken the time to tune in today. And I wanted to provide any or each of you with a quick opportunity, if you choose, to offer some final messaging to the small businesses in Burlington that have joined us today. Simply raise your hand. Okay. Councillor Kearns.
Our message to you is to stay strong. We're all in this together. Our strength at this time is communication and advocacy. I know that we are a resilient community and we are a generous community, and I know that we will have brighter days ahead. And I know that this is just one challenge that we will pass through with flying colors, and Burlington will be and continue to be the best place to live, work, and play.
Couldn't have said it better. Judy, any final comments before we turn to the last slide?
I just want to thank everybody for on the panel for taking some time, because I know everybody is probably wearing 10 hats now, and a lot of fires to put out. And I also want to thank everybody who joined us today. I think it's important to take the time, and because we're all leaders in our own way, and we all need to be spreading the news of what can be done in certain situations. So thank you everybody for participating.
For all those listening, I can assure you we are listening as Team Burlington, and we are responding, and we are working shoulder to shoulder with many of the panelists here today and other stakeholders to share real-time information, to advocate strongly to all levels of government on your behalf, and to share real-time resources. One of those that I mentioned off the top is a special one-stop shop resource site. I believe you can see it on the panel here. It is hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, a special platform. I encourage you to log on, and most importantly, I encourage you to keep the channels of communication open. If you have questions on behalf of you as a business owner or an employee or a neighbor, please reach out to us first. We are a united voice for business, and if we don't have the answer immediately, we are 1 degree of separation from getting that resource to you. And my final thought, of course, is this is number 3 of 3 scheduled seminars that we've done based on what we thought was the appetite and the mood for our business community. We'd love to hear from you about some what else you'd like to learn. What experts can we pull together to help your business community to move towards the phase of recovery and to become as knowledgeable as possible? So if you do have ideas, recommendations, or thoughts around a future webinar or a similar interactive function, please reach out. Thank you to our business community. Thank you to all of our panelists, and stay tuned for more from the Team Burlington Collective.
And Brian, if I could just, sorry, Brian, if I could just add, if you miss the webinars that were previously done, they are available through that Team Burlington website. You can listen to them, because we had different MPs and MPPs on there that really gave some, put a lot of light on what they're going through. So please take a look at those, and I hope we do more of these.
I look forward to seeing each one of you.
Good morning, everyone. That says just turn.
Oh. Oh, I think we're calling this to a close. Okay. I look forward to seeing each one of you in person when the time is right. From now until then, thank you very much for your support, and I'll call this webinar to adjournment. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
How do you get out of this?
Not sure. Should be a leave meeting button at the bottom right. Yeah. I'm going to be